Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for joining me on the I Am Unbreakable podcast. It is so awesome to meet you face to face.
Thank you so much for having me, Adrian. I am excited to be able to connect with you. I've been looking forward to this chat.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, me too. And thanks to brother Brad, of
Brother
course.
Brad.
I love Brad. Gonna give him a squeeze after. So, you and I have so many similarities in our life. And when we were chatting earlier, my question to you was, are you a mom? And I loved your answer. So, are you a mom?
I am a fur mom. I
I
have
love.
three little dogs.
Okay, do tell, this whole conversation could be about dogs because I am a
I'm
huge
in.
animal lover. I'm an animal sort of, I want to say ally, activist, whatever
Mm.
you want to call it, but I'm always for the voiceless, and I know you are as well. So what kind of puppies do you have?
Well, I have three dogs and they all have a really fun story. Yogi Bear is our oldest, or he's been with us the longest. He's going to turn 11 in December.
God bless.
Um,
And what kind is
he
he?
he is a Lhasa Apso Bichon mix.
Oh,
And
bougie.
he is very sensitive, and he is a mama's boy. We got him because someone, I guess, adopted him, and it was an older lady, had never had dogs in her entire life, and decided to get this puppy. And he was needy and very rambunctious when he was a puppy. And she needed to rehome him
Oh,
after a week of having him. And we
oh,
went
poor
to see
Yogi
him.
Bear.
Yeah, we went to see him, and there was another couple who had a little boy who was coming to see him after my husband and I saw him. And he was just adorable. And I thought, oh, I really want him. But obviously, she said, well, I'm going to, make a decision. So she called us the next day, and she said, well, the other couple came, but Yogi chose you. He didn't give them the time of day. So I'm like,
Yay for
okay.
Yogi. He knew where he was
Um,
gonna get spoiled, right?
That's right, and he does get spoiled. Now, Yogi's been
Oh,
with us again that long, and our other two, when I worked in corporate America, I worked for a friend, a mentor, the founder of this organization, and she was amazing. Sadly, in 2017, she passed away. She had breast cancer that metastasized to her brain. So I
oh,
adopted. Her family was not able to keep her little Maltese. So I brought Simba home, and Simba Bry is what we call him. Simba Bry is our other little baby, and he is 2 months older than Yogi. And for a few years there, Yogi had a hard time having a little brother or a big brother.
I can
But now
imagine.
they sort of coexist. And our third one came to us a year ago this weekend.
Oh,
He actually belonged to my friend Lillian, um, who passed away, belonged to her son because her son also passed away within a week or so of her passing. So he
wow.
had a
You're
little
gonna make me
puppy.
cry. Like,
Yeah,
you're
it
gonna make
was a
my
tragic story. I
eyelashes
talk
are gonna
about it in
come
my
off.
book. I
I was
talk
gonna
about it
say,
in my book.
and you know what though? It just goes to show what a beautiful soul you are. I mean, you have a piece
Mm,
of your friends and your
yeah.
friend's son. And
I
how
could not turn
beautiful is
away
that?
not having him here, because our other friend had taken him in, and Junior is his name, named after the famous Junior cheesecake in Brooklyn, which is where we are. I'm a New Yorker. Lillian, was in New York, and but my friend that had taken Junior on was moving to Texas and couldn't take him, and she said, "Can you help me rehome him?" And to my husband's credit, he said, we're not going to rehome him. We're just going to keep him. Although he had said, we had a cap at two dogs, but now we're at three again.
Now
So
we're at 3 and I draw the line, although you know that they do better in even numbers, right?
yes, I do. I keep saying that we need a
Hence why
girl
I
dog.
think I have 4 boys, and funny
Oh,
because I have a dog, I have a Frenchie, Dakota, and there's a
oh,
whole story behind that as well, but not quite as interesting as yours. And, they've been bugging me for another one for 4 years, and I'm like, I look after 28 guys and gals, at work, 4 boys, a mom, yeah, no more. Nothing that eats, breathes, lives, sleeps, requires food, attention, water, any of that stuff. Life is crazy busy and very full, but very
Yeah.
exciting. But I'm sure with 3 pups, I mean, dogs are pack animals, right? So they're
Yeah, and
better.
I guess I am, well, I guess my husband I think is the real pack leader because they do listen to him and they kind of get away with everything with me. But right now, believe it or not, and I'm hoping that they continue to do so, they're sleeping under my desk right now, the three of them.
Oh, come on.
So,
We need you to put the camera down after. We've gotta
that's
take a
yeah. Well,
picture.
I'm gonna bring one of them up. And Junior, who
Yeah,
is the
well,
youngest and the small, the latest edition, we call him Chunkamunk because he's a little chunky. He is a
oh,
Maltese and a Yorkie. So he's like a little roly poly
so
and yeah,
cute. Well,
he's
if you wanna
adorable.
let them sleep for a bit and bring them all
All
up to
right, so they'll
below at
make an
the end,
appearance.
I
Yeah,
would
they'll make an
love that.
appearance.
You
Yeah.
know, if you look at some of my other podcasts and a lot of, I'm releasing, I think you and I had chatted about that, quickly, that I have
Hmm.
a magazine and a publication that I want you involved in as well, which we'll chat about later
Yeah.
in, the fall of 2023. And one of my, sections is fur babies because
Oh, love it.
fur babies are like, I mean, anything. I guess people are always like, well, there's reptiles and there's monkeys and there's rats and I
Right.
get everybody. I will tell you this tarantula story later, but anyways, everybody has their favorite pet. For those who love our furry friends, but they're so good for the soul. I mean,
Oh, they
let
are.
alone for anxiety, depression,
Hmm.
PTSD, and just a really tough day in the life
Mm,
of walking through the door and seeing them so happy, you
I
can't be
know.
your mood immediately lifts. So for
Yeah.
those of you who don't love animals and maybe suffer from something or are finding things challenging, even visiting somebody with pets
Hmm.
can just be so incredibly therapeutic.
Absolutely. I have to tell you that it wasn't until moved to Connecticut, I guess 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I married my husband, Dan. Um, for whatever reason, Connecticut is a little colder, a little darker than New York City. I moved here from New York City. So I struggle with seasonal affective disorder here.
Yes.
I think that in the city, because I'm very extroverted and I'm really outgoing people person in the city, you just walk around, you're out, you're always doing something. For me, the winters have become very difficult and God bless I have these animals because they're the ones who give me love, who cuddle me, but they remind me, hey, let's go outside. Let's kind of like survive or thrive a little bit. And they
Yeah.
amuse me. They are funny. I mean, they really have, if you don't have animals, you may not understand, but they each have such distinct personalities.
Yeah, and they do things that you're like, "Okay, I swear you're human.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling great." So you decide to, like, chase a ball and roll over it and face plant on the floor,
Hmm.
whatever the case may be, and it just lifts you.
Yeah.
I so love that. Okay, like I said, that's gonna be our part 2. We're gonna talk about our fur
Mm,
babies,
I
okay?
love it. I love it so much. That's
I
so
wanna
awesome.
know more about you. You are such
Yeah.
an incredible woman, human being, and I would love to know a couple of really kind of intimate things about you if you're good with
Okay. I'm
that.
good with
She's
that.
like,
I'm good with
"What are
that.
you going to ask me?"
I can, I'm an open book.
I love it. Well, we all have stories, and, my podcast is based on the struggle as part of the story. And
Mhm.
we all have struggles, we all have obstacles, we all have things that we have gone through. So
Yeah.
I guess my question to you is, personally, what was your biggest struggle from when, you were knee high to a grasshopper to today? Do you have, everybody has that life altering aha moment where it's like, okay, things are going to change. And most people, hopefully, people are paying attention. They have many of those moments.
Mhm.
And so what would you say was the most impactful?
Well, if you asked me this question maybe a year ago, I might have given you a very similar answer, but I think I'm going to expand on this answer.
Please.
I I went through a divorce. Many people have gone through a divorce. And for me, I worked really hard at that first marriage. I met him when I was 25. We dated for 5 years and then were married short of 10 years. So we really grew up together. We saw the world together also. And we had this from the outside, we had what people would think as a, such a great life. We lived in New York City. We were professionals. We traveled all over the world. We had great family and friends. But I was really miserable in the marriage because it was a sexless marriage. And it was something that affected my confidence. It affected my self-esteem. It made me question my value as a person. Even though in my professional career, I was excelling. I mean, I did some incredible things in looking back, and I was promoted 6 times in 8 years,
Wow.
something like that. And I loved what I did, yet I was so afraid of people finding out that, I was, and by the way, my ex-husband, we're friends. He's a wonderful guy. But there was nothing that I could do that would make this marriage, that part of our marriage, sort of work. And I started to become someone that um, I didn't love and I didn't like. And I was becoming a little bit, if not a lot, bitter, because I felt I was broken, and there was nothing that I could do that made me change. Now, in retrospect, and I'll tell you what was the turning point in me ending the marriage. But one of the things that had happened that I never really addressed, prior to me meeting my first husband, is I was actually dating someone, after high school into college, and I was head over heels with this guy. And he proposed. We were going to get married, and I used to be of the person that used to think I'm not getting married ever. But here I was getting married. It was young love, and it was everything that young love could be, right?
And should be. Yep.
And should be. And he had a motorcycle accident. He was stationed in Germany, and he had a motorcycle accident, and he was never the same. For all intents and purposes, he was dead to me, because his family really became very protective of him. His family became so, his mom went through, and what I understand now, almost a nervous breakdown. And I was in Florida when this happened. He was there, but she refused to allow me to see him. And without making it a long story, I think that the girl who was at this point 20 years old was broken. And she was just devastated because this love that she had was taken away from her. So I started to shield myself from relationships. When I met my first husband, all my friends were getting married. And then I began this wonderful friendship with this wonderful guy, and we had a lot of fun together. And it was just sort of like, okay, well, this is just what we do. I'm just dating him. And I had a lot of red flags that kept saying, it's not the
Name
relationship
me
for you.
three, because that's what I do. I've been through about, I'm going to say 10,000 divorces and broken relationships,
Hmm.
because as a private investigator and
Yeah.
specializing in family law, infidelity, questionable
Hmm.
behavior, child custody, and I've been through so much. I want to know, what are the top three reasons for you?
Okay, so the
Because
the
there was many.
first the first one is he I we I said we should, what are we doing here? Are we getting married? Are we dating? And he's like, "Well, why do you need to get married?" And it was just, he was so anti-marriage and so anti, and yet I grew up in a very Catholic, very good girl kind of
Well,
environment.
that's
So
what we're kind
that's
of
what you
bred to
do,
do.
right?
I'm brought up
And
the same way. And it's like, marriage and
yeah, that's what you do.
although,
You're like, I can't
yes,
do,
although they
and
were still about careers. My parents really did
yeah.
support me with career as well. Like, you're supposed to do both, but you sort of are, as, a Catholic, we
Yeah.
find the man and have the 2.5 kids, the picket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he was so that's number
So,
one.
yeah. Number
Huge red
two.
flag. Number
Number
two.
two, once we did get married, there was always like a part that we didn't like I had to beg him to go places with me. Like if I was invited to an event for work or an event for like a friend's wedding that maybe it was not his friend, it was part of my circle from work.
So he
I
didn't want to
always
get
he
involved.
didn't want to like he would never want to. And the third red flag is he loved to travel, and as I love to travel as well. And we were fortunate enough, his aunt was a flight attendant, and she began flying in 1959 for Pan Am Airways. So she had
Wow.
incredible air flying benefits. She never married, didn't have children, so we had her benefits. So it was
Wonderful.
very easy for us to go all over the world. But there were times in which he would wake up in the morning, Thanksgiving, for instance, and we would be maybe getting together or celebrating, and he would say, "Oh, I'm not going to be here today. I'm going to fly to you name it." And he would just take off. And I would just think, why don't you want to be with me? Why don't, and by the way, you'd appreciate this, Adrianne, because it was that nagging feeling that something is not right. What
Yeah.
is going on? And um,
Oh no.
that's
There was
how
a missus somewhere else, or
there was a
several
Mr.
misses.
somewhere else.
Oh,
And there were
Mister.
several Misters somewhere else. And
You
it
know,
was
celebrate
just,
to you that you
yeah,
brought that up, because first of
yeah.
all, wow, that was actually the number one reason, I would
Yeah,
say.
that was the number
And
one reason.
and God bless you for talking about it. I can't tell you, especially during lockdown and whatnot,
Mhm.
so many people were cheating, but they were having same-sex relationships. And I would tell
Yeah.
people this, like, well, I know there's another woman, or I know there's another guy. And I'm like, listen, be still my beating heart and yours, that,
Mhm.
it could be infidelity. It could be same-sex relationships. It could be gambling, drugs,
Right.
drinking, escorts, sex trade, whatever the case may be. So don't discount any of that. And then sure enough, they're
Mm.
like, how did you know? And I'm like, because I mean, the way there's certain cultures, there's
Yeah.
certain things that are not acceptable, and there's certain people that are not finding out who they are, just like yourself. And
Oh, absolutely.
every decade you kind of evolve and you change and you learn more and
Yeah.
more about yourself. But um, to have that happen, I'm sure to you was like a big blow. And the ego is something that has to get out of all of our heads.
Yeah.
There's a
The
certain amount of
interesting,
ego that lives in all of us. But
there was an ego thing in there, but I will say when I realized what happened, well, first I'm going to tell you the story because you're going to love this.
I love it already.
I There was something that just again was not sitting right. It was my ex-husband is Jewish. And every holiday, by the way, I would make a holiday. I would make all the celebrations. We couldn't have a Christmas tree at my house then, but we would do the Jewish holidays, not anyhow. So
But he wouldn't show up.
yeah, then we one so it was Hanukkah, and I cooked the latkes, and I had this great thing, and I was waiting for him, and he finally came home around 10 o'clock, and he said, oh, I'm sorry, I was at happy hour with friends. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I was, it's a holiday. I thought we would celebrate together. And as he went to bed, I went to walk my dogs at the time in New York because I had dogs with him as
Let me
well.
guess. Let
And
me guess. You grabbed his phone.
no, I know I started to feel like I'm not being true to myself. It was the beginning of the Christmas season in New York, and I realized I'm not allowed to have a Christmas tree in my house because we have to like he doesn't like I don't matter, but
It
what
was
he
all
wants,
give. It sounds
it
like it was
was
all
all
give.
give. Then on Saturday he said, "Hey, I have a friend from work that is lives in New Jersey with his wife, but he wants to rent a room from us because he wants to be closer to the city
I know
and
where
he
this
doesn't
is
want to
going.
commute." So I'm like, why would we rent a room to someone? I mean, like, this is, and I'm thinking, like, we're, we make really good money. Like, I don't know. And I was so confused, but I'm like, okay, the guy came, and again, like the hairs on the back of my neck stood, didn't think much of it. Like, I met the guy. I'm like, okay, he's weird. I don't think so, but we didn't talk about it. And Monday, I went to work, and I'm driving to work. It would have been my grandparents' 65th wedding anniversary.
Are
And I
they
was
are
thinking,
they both here still, or are
nope,
they
they were gone, and I was very
passed
close
through?
to my
Okay.
grandparents. And I kept
Okay.
thinking, why is it that this is not what I have? They had such partnership and love and devotion and respect for each other. And as I sat at my desk, I got this voice that said, check his email.
Oh,
And I thought, check his email. Wait a minute. And I thought, I don't even know what his password would be. It didn't take more than one try for me to figure it out.
wow.
And I opened the email, and again, there were emails from this guy, tell her, tell her. There were emails of all his adventures to visit and be with other people. And at that point, it just sort of like the switch flipped. And I decided, okay, this makes total sense. And it was more like a liberation for me, because all of a sudden I found that
It
I was
wasn't
enough.
you.
It wasn't
It
me. It
wasn't
had
you.
nothing to do with me. And
That is huge.
no matter what I did, I was never going to be enough. And I needed to be enough only for me. So I picked up the phone and I called my dad and I said, hi, I just want to let you know I'm leaving him. And then I called my friend who we talked about, who was my boss and the owner of the company. And I said, hi, I have,
Leaving him.
I said, I have that bonus coming up. I need it before January, and this is why. And she said,
Wow.
okay,
You're like,
let's do
let
it.
me cut you that check now. I love
And
that.
she sure did.
And I want to
And
just bring that back for a second. There is such an important message in this obstacle and in your journey, which a lot of what we experience and a lot of what we feel, a lot of times it isn't about us. When you feel, not
no,
good enough, or you feel inadequate for whatever reason. But that message all on its own,
yep,
Julie, is so awesome, because if we could live our life knowing that, whether you get some kind of hate messages, whether you
hmm,
get, like you said, you have a sexless marriage, or your friend or the pizza guy is pissed off, 99.9% of the time, it has nothing to do with us. It is something either they're going through
yeah,
or something, but we internalize, especially as women, we internalize this as like, what can I do better? And you started something, and I kind of knew it was going to this, not quite like this, but
mhm,
it was sort of going to this, where you said, my first marriage, I worked so hard. So
yeah,
you really gave 150%, and you convinced yourself in your
hmm.
mind that it was you, because you could have done better.
Oh, 100%. And then we do this as women all the time, in which
Sure
we
do.
never place the blame outside of ourselves. And we are the ones who really, by what we're thinking, sabotaging ourselves. We beat ourselves up, we judge ourselves, we we become these either high, and by the way, that's my one of my biggest saboteur, the one that is hyperachiever, because I couldn't achieve and have um, that great relationship that I was investing so much into. So then I needed to achieve everywhere else.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. You achieve, let's just say professionally, to so high to
Yeah,
offset your personal,
right.
let's just say growth, or your internal, let's just say achievements, because we are always so judgy sometimes of
Oh, for
ourselves,
sure.
right? And I could be doing better, I should be doing this, or I should be doing that.
Hmm.
And like you said, at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with you. And
No.
by the way, I've been married twice as well. Still with my second husband, but very similar situation. not sure what he's doing, now, or if he's remarried or to which sex he's remarried to. So I'm not saying that that part is the same whatsoever, but it's so funny that you try so incredibly hard
Yeah.
in like your younger years.
Hmm.
Whereas not that, look, no relationship, I don't care who you are, what you say, I call bullshit if you say any relationship is easy, whether it's a
Yep.
friendship, a family relationship, a coworker, everything is work. It's work. Sometimes it's, easy peasy and sometimes it's work. But you have to admit that it's always work, but it
Oh,
shouldn't be
100%.
so difficult. Like it sounded like you were tooth and nail, you suck, you kind of threw yourself on the cross and gave up everything that you
Yeah.
wanted for him.
Right.
It shouldn't be that difficult, right? And so
No, and
you're
it shouldn't.
happily now you're happily remarried.
Absolutely. We call, so my husband, this is his second marriage as well. We call our first spouses our practice spouses.
I love that. Practice
Be-
makes
we
perfect. Practice makes
practice,
perfect.
and by the way, um, certainly no perfection, but we work at it. We come back. And I am incredibly fortunate that my husband now, he's so incredibly supportive of what I do and what I do now with the work that I do with women, building a brand for them, helping support get their message out there, um, helping them build the business of their dreams that allow them to have the life that they want. I'm able to do it because I have this person at my side.
I
And
love
by the
that.
way, he is the total opposite of me, but he is the person that they will call me to task or will say,
Call you
okay, you're
out on your
crazy, but I'll
bullshit.
support you. Right. And that's
Yeah,
what we need.
we
And
sure do, but in a respectful
in
manner.
a respectful manner.
And it's funny
Absolutely.
because I have that exact same in the partner that I have now. And isn't it ironic that you and I are both very similar? And a lot of people will say regarding my husband that he's, a little bit shy or he's a little bit quiet. I'm like, no, he's not. He's kind of noisy when he's around me. And I'm kidding.
Yeah.
He's a great listener. But like you said, you've got that backing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so much of my messaging is, and especially being a female in a very male dominated industry, there are men that will support women, and I love that.
Mhm.
And, I don't talk about the negative or about the men that perhaps do not. There's a lot of good men out there. And a lot of my
Yeah.
clients will say, oh my God, never again. I'm never dating. I'm never getting married. I said, call me in 2, 3 years. I said, I guarantee you
Yeah, that
I'm
was
gonna
me, by the way. I
change
walked out
your
of
mind.
that
I think it's
relationship.
yeah, well, oh my God, you had probably one of the worst, what we call in our industry, sort of betrayal, because it's a double whammy, right?
Mhm.
It was
Mhm.
a double whammy. You
Yeah.
you lost the second you said I do. You didn't even have a fighting chance. Doesn't make your ex-husband a bad person.
No.
Perhaps he was not being true to himself and definitely not being true to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's all, like you said, water under the bridge, which is awesome. However, you didn't have a chance regardless. But
Mhm.
I think through tough times, I mean, always when, I'm doing coaching with my clients, and I'm sure you're the same, is growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable and happy. Growth
Oh,
happens
100%.
during these type of times, like the times that you
Yeah.
had to endure. And I'm sure, I'll tell you a quick story if you don't mind about when I think I had told you as well. I got certified through Tony Robbins and I had met him when he came to Toronto. And I wasn't in a great position in my life, but, I started that whole thing, of coaching and getting certified because all my
Mhm.
clients really needed the support and I didn't feel I was qualified.
Mm.
And I'll never forget, I talked to Tony about some personal things and, he said to me, and I was kind of mid certification. He says, you get what you tolerate. And I
It's
took
true.
that back like, what? I get what I tolerate. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I walked away and I was just like, I cannot believe that he would say something like that. And I exited the program for about 6 months. And then somebody from there called me and said, like, what happened? How come, we haven't seen you? And
Mhm.
I was very honest. And she listened and she heard me out. She's like, did you hear what he said after? And I'm like, I think I needed a paper bag. So no, I have no idea what he said after. And she said, oh boy, she goes, I can't tell you, my personal story in detail, but I will tell you, he said the same to me and it was life-changing. He said, you get what you tolerate. And that's all I heard. I was thinking he was saying, well, you kind of get what you deserve, but
Right.
not even like that. So why I would take it like that, I don't think I was ready to hear the next step,
Mm.
which was raise your standards. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, why I just wasted 6 months. That was not what I heard. And it's so funny because I'm sure with your second marriage, you're kind of like, you've got healthy boundaries and you're
A
kind of like,
hundred
I'll
percent.
tolerate this. I will tolerate some of this and I will never tolerate this. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in your first marriage, you weren't like that. And same. And that's why
No.
when I say practice makes perfect for us. It makes
Yeah.
it a better situation for our partners to be in with us if we know what we want, because a lot
Right.
of people go into relationships personally and professionally saying, oh yes, it's going to be fine, oh yeah, we'll have kids, it'll make it so much better, yeah, okay. And at the end of the day, you still
Hmm.
feel the way you feel and things are still the way they are. And so as long as you work on yourself, which it
Right.
sounds like you are a rock star, and look where you are now. So you left, okay, so fast forwarding,
Yep.
left the corporate world.
Hmm.
Now that's my second question, because there's always a story for every
There is a
entrepreneur.
story. Yeah.
See, I've been an entrepreneur since I was not even 10. So that was always my
You and me
path, was
both.
always my vision. Of course, but I'm sure you sound like you went into corporate
I
America
did. I did. And I
and
always had a dream, and I always had maybe this little side hustle here. And I knew that I was going when my friend Lil died, and she died in 2017. I stayed with the company despite the fact that I I had all these other thoughts of things that I wanted to do and go out on my own.
sure.
And yet I stayed because I wanted to be loyal to the organization. I wanted to get them through the transition of losing our founder, our CEO, and transitioning and keeping her legacy going. Um,
So you
s-
did it really again for, I don't want to say for you didn't really do it for professional reasons. You did it because of your heart,
yeah,
right?
I'm
Isn't
a
that
heart-led
interesting?
person. Absolutely.
Isn't that interesting though?
Yeah.
Because you didn't really do it because you wanted to. I mean, you probably wanted to, and there was a financial benefit, and
Sure.
it was,
I
and
was
and
very good at what I did. I've been with the
you're
organization for a
terrified.
long time. And I also, I knew that I wanted to do something on my own, but I didn't have a clear picture. In 2019, I started to really kind of think more. And I 2018, I got my first coaching certification. 2019, I got another one. And I thought, yeah, maybe in a couple of years, this is what I'm going to do. And in the meantime, I was working in some leadership programs as a mentor and really loved that. And I thought, okay, well, this is great. I can help individuals, and people would come to me and I would mentor or coach them. But it wasn't like anything defined. And it was the morning of March 21st, 2020. I was working here, and I worked remotely. I worked in Connecticut, and we had gone into lockdown, and
Mhm,
I got a call from our CFO,
mhm.
um, and someone who I've been close to, and he was distraught. And I thought, what is going on? And he said, I've been laid off. And I'm like, what? You've been there for longer than I have. What do you mean? And I said, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. I know I'm going to connect you. I can help you. And I'm already like thinking of how I'm going to help him. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it dawned on me, wait a minute. Now, mind you, he was the CFO. My role was Chief Innovation Officer. So I was part of that C-suite. And I thought, wait a minute.
Am I next?
He is, yeah, am I next? So I texted our CEO as I'm on the phone with him, and immediately I started to get a call coming in through Teams, and I said, "Hey, I think I'm next. Here comes the call." And the CEO gave me the news that he's like, "Hey, we need to offer you a separation package. We've been hit very strongly through the pandemic. We need to keep some people on the ground, and we can't afford you." And And at that time, there was a level of, okay, and I sort of went into that automation mode like I did before, right? When I found those other emails, and I'm like, okay, no problem. And then I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And that night, I laid in bed at night and I started to lay out my vision, my mission, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to help, what I was, and it started to form. Now, Adrian, there's still a level of mourning that, my corporate life ended. I was in this industry for over 20 years. I was with that company for almost 12 years. It was also, I wasn't losing just a job. I was also grieving the loss of my friend and my
Yes.
mentor.
Yeah.
And that was part of the impact as well that hit. And of course we were in lockdown, but
Which
um
is a whole slew of
which
other
is, but
things to deal with. But
I'm
what
glad it happened how it did though.
Well,
I'm
now,
glad it
yes,
happened how
now
it
you
did.
are, but I'm sure when it happened, sometimes you don't realize that things always happen for a reason. I'm very
Yeah.
spiritual. Yes, I'm Roman
Yeah.
Catholic, but I don't really like my faith really is in, the higher power. And
Yeah.
some people call it God, some people call it angels. I just call it the higher power, very spiritual. And I feel that there is no such thing as coincidence. Things happen
Oh,
for a
absolutely not.
reason.
Absolutely
And
not.
it's sort of like you were always destined to do this. And since you didn't get your derriere in, fast enough mode,
Hmm.
the universe said, okay, I'm
Okay.
going to help you along. And here you go.
And
This is
that's
the
exactly
path,
how it happened. I
redirection.
I
Right.
got a little kick in the pants, and by the way, it was sort of like I knew that this was it, this is the path, but I also, by the way, it was comfortable. Why would I want to go to the uncertainty of what am I going to do? Who am I going to serve? What is this business going to look like? Am I going to be able to make money from having a job that I was good at, a job that I had great, connections with, an organization that I loved leading. So there was that level of discomfort that I was avoiding. And the universe said, no, sorry,
Yeah. We need you
be
over here.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
We need you over here.
Yeah.
And thank
And
gosh for the universe and the way it works, right? Because
absolutely.
we need women like you. We need people like you because you are leading those C-suite individuals that have been laid off or that have lost their jobs
Mhm.
or their families, and you are leading them into the rebuild of themselves and not just
Absolutely.
of their businesses, right? Because
No, in their life, it's a joy. You cannot separate your life from your business.
you can't. And, so many people try to do that. And it was funny. Brad and I actually had this conversation. And, it's always, people want to push their product or they want to push their service.
Mhm.
People aren't buying services and products anymore. They're buying
No.
into the founders, they're buying into
Yep.
the people
Agreed.
that allow you to get to know them like yourself.
Yeah.
And I love that because you have to have a connection with people. I mean, I built my whole entire private investigation corporation. Sorry, I was going to say agency and then foundation, and then I lost all words for a moment. But
You're good.
I built my whole private investigation agency on serving others and listening and having the empathy
Mm.
and the compassion. And not to say that there aren't others in the industry that are either male or now there's a few females in the industry, but being the first woman, this is
Mhm.
why, as an industry leader, I said, being a person talking to another person, they're coming to you with pain. They're coming
Yeah.
to you with fear. Even for yourself as an entrepreneur, I don't care how brave you are, how strong you are. Even myself having this amazing career and company and going into sort of the unknown,
Yeah.
which is serving people on a larger scale, it's terrifying sometimes. How and it's
100%.
lonely, and you are there for them, leading them, guiding them, and also saying, "Look, yes, there's gonna be obstacles. Yes, there's gonna be hiccups and bumps and bruises in the road, but you
Yeah.
know what? You're gonna be okay." Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will tell you, the first thing that I started to help individuals with because I feel that this is the thing that many people get wrong. And I got it wrong, by the way. My husband would probably laugh hearing me say this. The first day, that was our full day that I was launching my business, I said, okay, you got to make me a logo. So I want to be official and be in
Yeah.
business and have a logo.
Yeah.
And brand is not about a logo. And yes, you can have some beautiful visual branding, but brand is personal. Brand is your your personality infused with your values into the service and transformation that you create for others. And for me,
Well said. Well
it's
said.
so important. When I look at these women that maybe don't have the experience that I have coming into building a business, I want them to know that they need to stop looking left and right to what so and so is doing, whoever the big bro marketing guy is, guru, right? That's going to tell you go out all the way. No, that's not you. It's not going to work for you. And you're not going to be able to build something that resonates with the person that you want to work with for as long as you choose to be somebody else
Yeah.
and adopt their tactics, their marketing, their values that are not aligned with who you are and your experiences. Stop devaluing who you are and where you're coming from,
I love that message.
because that is it's what sets you apart. There's a book that I teach my clients when I do my programming. It's called The Blue Ocean Strategy, and I love this book. It's one of my favorite books because it talks about you can actually go into a very saturated market, but as long as you are very clear and you define yourself in a different way than everybody else in the market has done, then you are not going to swim in a shark infested waters. You're going to be in a blue ocean.
I
So
love
that's
that.
the one thing I want people to know. Um, that's what I love working with my clients, because again, like we talked about, life is, we live in this blend. We don't have, I had a boss once tell me, my early 20s, he said, when you come to work, you leave your problems at the door. And I remember thinking, okay, and I would go in and I'd be like, I would visually picture myself. And this is one, I had a couple jobs. I was teaching at the time, and I was also working at this office as an office manager. And I would come in and I would be rushing, and my car had broken down, and I would literally think of myself, I'm going to just leave my problems here in this bush and I'll pick them up on the way home,
On the
right?
way out.
But
Yeah.
but it's like the kind of thing where we're human. We feel. And yes, I think that, like you said, we take on a lot of things because we don't value ourselves enough at times, or we're not choosing, right, to think differently. We're thinking in that, oh, poor me, these things are happening to me. But at the same time, it's important to note that life, it's happening, and acknowledge that, hey, I'm feeling a little sad today, but that means that I can still be kind to someone, or I can still greet someone with a smile and be okay with that.
I love that. And when you say there's certain things that you say, and I of course don't want to interrupt, but it's almost like life isn't happening to you. I always tell my clients it's
Yeah,
happening for
for
you.
you, a
And it's
hundred
going
percent.
to be sad and hard times and bumps, and fair enough. And sometimes it sucks. I mean, look at your two little fur babies underneath and how
Hmm.
you acquired them. And life isn't fair
No.
at times, but life is beautiful. And always to choose sort of looking at, for me, and what I always say is, rejection really is redirection. It has
Mm,
nothing to do with, oh, you got fired because we can't afford you.
no.
You got fired because somebody, for half the price and maybe half your age and half your experience is coming in. Fair enough.
Fair
But
enough.
fair enough.
You
And,
can
and
make
I
it
get the
work.
economics, but and we can sit there and be bitter and be pissed off. And it's okay to have, certain emotions. I always let my clients have a little bit of what we call a pity party. And then you got to
Hmm.
move on and you put
Right.
that pity party in a box. And when we need to bring it out, we bring it out. But at the same time, it's like, put on your business hat and let's get to work. Right. And it
Absolutely.
really is about that. It is about just redirecting it. Rejection, fine, sucks, it is what it is, but you also went look at your first marriage too.
Hmm.
You picked yourself up, you immediately, probably before you even told him, you called your dad, you called your boss, you redirected your energy into
Oh,
survival mode.
oh, and I'll tell you, I found out on a Monday. I told you I found out on a Monday, and I worked for 5 days, and by the end of the week, I not only had a new apartment, I had spoken to a lawyer, I had gotten a brand new bank account, and and you make it work. And the reality, and this is what people sometimes think, like, oh, I should be sad. Oh, I'm happy, or I'm this. We are complex human beings, and we are able to feel sadness and hope at the same time.
Sure can.
We are able to be angry, but also see the gift in something. And what I want people to notice is that what you focus in is going to grow. And just because you're feeling sad or stressed or overwhelmed over something, the more that you choose to put your energy into that, the less energy you're going to have to maybe look at the gift, to look at the possibilities, to look at what's available to you,
There's
because
always
that's
a
going to help the momentum carry you forward.
You know what? You nailed it. There's always a gift. There's always, people want to call it a silver lining or whatever.
Mhm.
Even in the most tragic situations, there's always a gift. You just have to be open-minded. You have to like open your heart, open your soul,
Mm.
spiritually be open to receive the gift. And you might not see, a death or a loss where there is a gift, but one day you will realize there's
Yeah.
a I mean, you've got your little gifts underneath your desk, and not that, there's any positive to people we love passing, especially young and
Yeah.
suddenly, and from something such as breast cancer. But there will be a gift, there will be
Yeah.
messages, and there will be some kind of a gift, even if the gift is they no longer suffer. There is
Absolutely.
always a gift somewhere as long as we look, right?
Yeah.
So
People
you
don't realize that in the thunderstorm of life, the clouds that are carrying the thunder and lightning are the clouds beneath the blue sky above, really, honestly. And
I love
if
that.
you
I
if
want
you
a
think about
t-shirt
it,
that says that.
yeah, I may have to get a t-shirt saying that too. And I had this revelation. I was flying, I don't even know where I was going, but I was flying somewhere, and we took off from LaGuardia, which is kind of a hairy airport to take off from in normal circumstances, but it was thundering and it was lightning, and it was right after that plane that landed in the river. And I remember I was a little nervous, and as soon as we made it past, all of a sudden it was so beautiful and the sky was so blue. And I thought, this is really what happens in life. There's these thunderstorms that are attacking and really bringing us down, but then once we get through them and we break through, the sun has never stopped shining. We just weren't seeing it because of what was going on. But if we push through, then we can get to it. Or if we allow the thing to blow through, and by the way, help yourself. Don't sit in the rain and get wet. Open your umbrella and sit there, and
Absolutely.
then let the rain pass, and then you will see that
Take
you're
cover.
capable of, yeah, absolutely.
And people don't realize how resilient we are. I mean, you put, there's so many shows, Survivor and Naked
Mhm.
and Afraid and all this other stuff. We are such resilient
Yeah,
creatures. And
100%.
it's always confusing to me when one of my clients breaks down and they're freaking out, and let's just say the husband's completely, taken out every line of credit and left them bankrupt. They've been a stay-at-home person, or the husband's wife is sleeping with the best friend, whatever nonsense that
Yep.
goes on in our industry, and they are just devastated. I can barely pick them up off the floor. And then to see them, And I always say this to them. I said, in a week, a month, 3, 6, and 9 months, things are going to look
Mhm.
so different.
Yeah.
But you have to get off the floor first.
Mhm.
You're going to get through this. And the one thing that's always helped them, and this is sort of one of my big mottos, is you're not always going to feel like this. People think
Yeah.
this feeling is going to last forever, and it never
Oh, true.
does. It never does. And, talk about resilience. And I now, being in business for over 20 years, people will
Incredible.
message me or call me or email me or send me a beautiful card from wherever they are. And they're like, happily single, backpacking through Europe, just had my third kid on my, just got married, 5 years ago and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how wonderful. And they're like, you were there for me in a
Yeah.
time I never knew I would get through. They're like, how did you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
because you just know. And as long as you have
Yeah.
that faith, and I think you're the same as a life coach, and not only as a coach, but also as a human being, you resonate your fearlessness and the fact that you are strong and the fact that you are resilient regardless of the
Mm.
obstacle. You're going to get through it. You're going to have a couple of bumps, scars, bruises,
Sure.
whatever, but those are your battle wounds, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. I've got one of my other tattoos says, life gives its hardest battles to its strongest warriors,
I
right?
love that. I think that
And
that is so true.
and it is true because you got through this and now you are helping others, but you're even helping so many people. I can't even tell you. I'm so excited about this podcast because to actually come out and say it, so many people keep it.
Mm.
It's shameful, it's embarrassing, it's whatever. No, it's not
Yeah.
embarrassing and it's not shameful. The struggle is part of the story, and that you struggled for a lot of years thinking it was you. And
Right.
what a gift to find out it wasn't. And now here you are helping people transition into their new life, whatever
Right.
transition that may be. You're there
Absolutely.
using that to empower others. I think that is so, I
Mm.
celebrate you. I
Well,
really
thank
do.
you. And by the way, I want to, clarify that the people in our life that maybe like myself encounter that relationship, there's no villain. There's no villain because they have a story and they are the protagonist of their story. And for my ex, he had a tormented life. And I'm not even going to go into his story because it's not mine to tell. But I am not the victim and neither is he. And there is no villain. There is just circumstances that we need to learn that they are what they are. And we have responsibility and we must take responsibility for our own happiness and for our own actions and the thoughts that we are going to choose on a daily basis to wear, just like we choose our outfits.
I I am gonna get a few t-shirts made of all your amazing sayings, and
I love it.
we'll bling them all
Perfect. And we'll
out,
bling them
and
out. I love it.
and there you go. But that is awesome. I mean, you have such a wealth of knowledge to share with others and to empower others. I love that. In closing, can you just tell me very quickly, I'm so excited to get your book from Amazon. Tell us quickly, what is your, kind of your mission and your message from
Yeah.
your book?
The mission from my book is that I want individuals to learn because not everybody has some incredible mentors or incredible friends that have poured them and have been there. And maybe you have, but haven't seen them. And what I want you to see is that in order to have confidence, it's not about that feeling that we wake up with. Confidence is in you as long as you choose to take action. The name of my book is Confident You: Simple Habits to Live the Life You Have Imagined. And in the book, I chronicle my story throughout my life and different periods of my life, but I also chronicle the individuals that have come alongside of me and have given me some of the lessons and the simple habits that help them be confident. And in turn, I've adopted into my life that have allowed me to grow into this place in which I know that confidence is not a feeling, is an action, is a daily consistency in what we do for ourselves and how we can then create a ripple effect and help others.
I love that. And I feel that confidence really takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of
Oh,
discipline as
for sure.
well. And it's something, it's sort of like, that saying, if you ignore something, it'll go away. It's sort of like a relationship and
Hmm.
self-care, self-love. I think confidence is very similar.
Yeah.
And it, like you said, it's not confidence. A lot of people think it's arrogance or it's something, egocentric driven. And it's actually opposite, in
Yeah.
my humble opinion,
Yeah.
that it is something that you're confident in who you are, what you can offer this world, the fact that you serve others, the fact that you're loving and empathetic. And that like really shows in the type of person that you are, Julie, in all the work that you do. Your
Thank
book,
you.
your coaching, everything. I feel that you resonate confidence. And that's why people are drawn to you. Yes, you're charismatic. And yes, you're a wonderful talker. And you and I don't even think an hour or two is enough. I think
Yeah.
we have to have several sessions. But I love the fact that you can take whatever you've gone through and
Mhm.
mold it into not only a business, but a structure that other people can learn from. That is
Yeah.
beauty all on its own.
Well, thank you. And, Adrian, you are and I are kindred spirits. Brad is a good matchmaker.
He sure is. He sure is. We're gonna have to
Yeah,
give him a 2 thumbs up, but,
that's right. That's right.
and
So,
I think he's the same, though. He really looks for people,
mhm.
of quality and of substance, but, this isn't about me, it's all about you, and I
So
really
kind.
celebrate, what you have accomplished, what you have already done, what you've gone through with such beauty and such grace. In
Mm,
closing, I keep saying in closing, we're gonna go on for forever on that statement. What is next for Julie? Because I know you're going to build this huge empire
mm.
and you and I are gonna do wonderful things together. However, what is next? Is there any big step that you've got kind of in the sidelines?
Yeah. So, one of the biggest things that I had on my list for last year, 2022, is I wanted to get on the TEDx stage. And I wanted
You and
to
I gotta
add
stop
my
you.
voice.
You and I are on the same path.
Okay.
You and I are talking afterwards. Okay,
All
wow.
right. So I will tell you that I I did not I did apply to one TEDx last year, but it was the kind of thing where that was my goal, and I didn't do any work toward that goal until like the night before the application was due. And of course I got denied. So this year I've put myself out there and applied and really refining my message and really knowing, by the way, I'm just adding to the conversation. I am not coming up with any brand new ideas that this world hasn't heard, but they're going to hear it from my perspective, from my experience
Which
and
is where the
viewpoint.
value is, right?
Yeah,
Which is what people want. They want authenticity. They
yeah,
want somebody that's gone through it, and they want their TEDx is all about ideas. And you're right, you're very well
yeah.
spoken. And I
Thank you.
cannot wait to hear, on a personal call, what you've done and how far you've gotten because
Yes, I'm going to tell
there's
you
lots
how
of
fun
tricks
that has
and
been.
yeah, and there's lots of tricks and tips to that whole process, but
Yeah.
the fact that you're actually the other thing I really want to applaud because people don't ever talk, they always get onto social media and say, "Well, I've done this and I've done that and look at me and look at this." People don't get on and say, "Hey, you know what? This was my goal. This was last year's goal. I failed miserably. This is what I did because I only did it the night before." I love that. But you know what? What you're also not saying, and that's why I get to be your megaphone, is you have created a beautiful, amazing rock star brand, and you
Thank you.
have gotten very far. And that's going to be on your to-do list. But isn't it funny that, yours and my to-do list and our paths are very similar, but we put this time frame on ourselves. And I feel as entrepreneurs, it's not serving. And the reason is
Mm,
is it puts pressure if that's I always kind of try to do like, these are my 1, 3, and 5 year goals. And we put so much pressure on ourselves, and then, we don't get through. And I did the same thing, and they denied me. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to apply every year, every
That's right.
year till I get it right. And one day somebody will say yes to me.
That's right. So
Right.
and we shall see. I was finalist for for 3 so far this year. 2 have said you were a great finalist, but not the final. And now I'm waiting to hear from the 3rd. And if it doesn't happen, it just doesn't mean no, it means next. And that's what I want to leave your audience with.
I love that.
When you hear no, it just means that there's something else out there for you and it's next.
Next or not now. Those
Or
are my
not now.
famous
Absolutely.
things too, because you will get there. I can tell you are full of.
As will you.
Thank you. As will we. Maybe we'll do our own TEDx
Maybe
talk.
we'll do it together. You never know.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for joining us. You are
Oh,
beautiful inside and out. Love, love, love you.
oh, my friend, thank you so much. I've had so much fun. This has been an incredible conversation. You're a great host, and I can't wait to see what amazing things we work together in the universe.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Don't forget, go
Bye.
confidently.
Oh, yes.